Most mage players are building the wrong pet in Cow Dragons, and the worst part is if you choose the wrong one early, you can waste months of progress. Sand Lizard, Drake, Flame Manticore, Sapphire Faedrake. Today we're going to break down which pet actually wins. Hit the like if you're playing Mage main in Cow Dragons. Here's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. First, the Sand Lizard strategy and why many players recommend it. Then the Drake build and why it's popular for damage. After that, we're going to talk about the Flame Manticore pet and his burst potential, then the Sapphire Faedrake, which players think is the real late game mage pet, and finally I'll tell you which pet I personally recommend for different type of players. So let's start with the Sand Lizard strategy and why many players recommend it. And why the players are liking the Sand Lizard. Well, the answer is simple, it's providing a healing. This pet is doing AoE healing, which, you know, is not only healing your legion, but is healing the legions around you, which if you're moving all of your legions together, you have synchronization in the march speed, you're always going to get some decent healing with your Sand Lizard. On top of that, you can, you know, increase the rage potential of the heroes inside this legion, like Mu. Mu is also doing some AoE healing. On top of that, you can increase the healing of this pet and etc. So this pet is support pet that is helping your legion to stay longer on the battlefield. What is the reason behind is simple. I mean, the more long time your legion is having full number inside, or over, let's say 70-80% inside, the legion is doing pretty decent damage. The moment you hit under 60%, your legion slowly starts doing less damage and is taking the same amount of counter attack from the enemies. That's why with the Sand Lizard, having like 3 or maybe 4 Sand Lizards in your legion is like race of remedy for the people who know this season with Yang and Yun Ming. This is just non-stop healing, and non-stop your legion is looking like full. You're going to get same amount of severely wounded in the hospital, but you're going to sustain more on the battlefield. And again, you're going to just hit more harder for a long time. This is the reason behind for the Sand Lizard. Now, why I don't like Sand Lizard is, first of all, in this strategy, it's not doing any kind of damage, and believe it or not, your pet can do crazy amount of damage. This is one of the things, and the second one is just healing. It's just healing. Yeah, it's help your legions, but it's not some crazy healing. Right now, this one is a 2-star. If I want to start up and go for the next level, I mean 3-star, I'm going to jump healing factor to 134 to 224 is going to be the healing. I mean, I cannot say something crazy. Obviously, if you have like 3-4 Sand Lizards, it may actually make a big difference, but this is a huge investment in just a Sand Lizard. So this is why I don't like it and why I didn't actually focus over this strategy, but if you want to go in this direction, you can go. Now let's talk about the next pet, and this is Shadow Faedrake that we already mentioned. The Shadow Faedrake build and why it's very popular for the damage. Well, it's not because the pet is doing damage by himself. Still, this pet need some investment, to be honest. But a Shadow Hunter, let's say this, the town skill of this pet is increasing the damage bonus the target is receiving. I mean, deals damage to the target legion and inflict captive. This captive is what actually matters for us. We don't care that much over this magic damage, even though that's like 190 damage factor is not that bad at the end of the day. But the captive is going to give me like 3.2% plus 6.92, which it end up like over 10% damage bonus over the target. And since your 5 legions are hitting one target, I mean, your mages are not like like shooting around. All of your legions with the normal attacks, they're hitting one target. One target is going to for sure get the damage. I mean, your AoE damage may not hit more legions, but the single target and AoE damage is going to hit a single target. That's why I strongly recommend having one Shadow Faedrake in your legion. This pet is just going to increase the damage that the enemy target is receiving, which is absolutely wow. This can be normal attack, this can be artifact damage, this can be hero skill damage, all kind of damage. This is damage bonus over the target, 10%. And if you have like Mirage Orb like mine and you hit for like 70,000, it can be 77 with this debuff on the target. Very important to be mentioned. That's why the oh my god, the Shadow Faedrake is very important for me. Now after that, let's talk about the Flame Manticore, and this is cannot say this new pet, but actually is the new one because it's from generation 4. And Flaming Manticore is having crazy potential, to be fair. Some player, is having burst potential also. Why is that? Because it's doing AoE damage. Now we're going to also jump over other pets that is doing AoE damage, and I'm talking about the Sapphire Faedrake. But for Flame Manticore, it's not related to some stats to do AoE damage, like for example Sapphire Faedrake deals magic damage to the target, some damage factor which is like 306 determined by intelligence, and creates molten field which deals magic damage every second for 40 damage per second up to 3 enemy legions for 3 seconds. So it's like 40 for 3 seconds is going to be 120 damage factor, and 3 enemies is a very nice burst damage. Now this pet I expect to do some crazy damage. The bad thing is I don't have it leveled up. I mean, I have this like 61% critical damage, and here I have like 30% critical rate, but still this pet need some work. I maybe want to add some follow-up. We're going to see what I want to add, but so far this is how it's built. And this is the burst potential, because first of all it's doing damage, like 306, and after this it have a chance to do AoE damage to up to 3 enemy legions. The AoE damage is not something crazy, but you cannot expect a single pet to do like more damage for... I have seen pets that do more damage from my heroes. I don't want to say you cannot expect your pet to do more damage from your hero. I have witnessed this type of things, but yeah, still I believe the Flaming Manticore is having huge future, especially with the AoE that's providing. And finally, let's talk about the Sapphire Faedrake, which some players think is the real late game mage pet. And what I don't like with the Sapphire Faedrake is first of all, it's completely fine. You have Plain Boom, which is very far obviously, but deals damage to 1 legion plus extra 2, because if you have advanced Plain Boom for every 155 3-star, I want to point out 3-star, for every 155 spirit you add extra target. So max you can add like 2 targets, and I have 318, so I add actually 2 targets. So this pet is AoE damage dealer. I want to point out this thing. The damage factor is 247 and 140. This is a definitely solid amount of damage, and is better. This is the best damage dealing pet with the AoE. I want to say that. But here is what is important here to be mentioned. Determined by intelligence. Each time you inflict Scorch, this is this one intense play boom. This is a spell that is boosting the main spell of the pet, intense play boom. Each time you inflict Scorch, only Liliya is having Scorch. Here Frost, only Wodir and Velen is having Here Frost, and Ensnare, only Elwyn having Ensnare. on one enemy legion, Flame Boom deals more damage next time it's casted. So Flame Boom damage bonus can go, and here you can get some extra percentage, max 40%. Now, why I actually believe that in Wonk run, Flaming Manticore is better. First of all, I don't have one of the spells of the Flaming Manticore, and this is I actually have it, but yeah, maybe have to add it here. Or is this thing? Okay. This is Intense Fire Cage. Increase the effect of Burning Mark, blah, blah, blah. 1% plus like 2% determined by intelligence. Now, this thing can increase the damage output of Fire Cage. With the Sapphire Faedrake, your increasing of the damage is strongly related to be either Liliya, either Velen, either Wodir, either Ewin. These 4 heroes is what, if your pet is with these heroes, with these 4 heroes, this pet is going to receive some extra bones. This is the thing I don't like. This is something like for 4 heroes. On top of that, for the spirit, you have to be crazy lucky to actually get the spirit. I try. I mean, I roll so much this pet till I hit the spirit. I even sacrifice my intelligence because at best maybe this spirit is like 320 and you have to hit 310 to have like 2 targets targeted by your Sapphire Faedrake. It's absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. And it's a lot of rerolls, guys, a lot of rerolls. And right now I'm at 6 and I'm a little afraid to actually do some changes. Maybe I'm going to add some critical rate here and some critical damage. And most likely I'm going to leave the pet like this, with some critical damage and critical rate. That's all. Now I have follow-up, but I don't have the intense follow-up that is giving some critical to the follow-up. But still, this is my plans for this Sapphire Faedrake. This spirit is crazy. It's hurting me so much. So I will tell you which pet I personally recommend for different type of legions. Now, for your Liliya legion, definitely Sapphire Faedrake. There is no second opinion here. For Bertrand and Tohar, since they are single target, I strongly suggest Shadow Faedrake. You can go with this one. Now for Thunderlyn, now you can go with Seraphic Faedrake. It's not that bad, because if I remember right, Thunderlyn is having some boost for the shields and healing. So you're going to benefit from this 160 healing factor that the Sapphire Faedrake is giving. On top of that, it's doing pretty decent damage, by the way. I don't know if you can actually see it. You should be able to see it. Yeah, it's close to 500 damage factor and 160 healing. So yeah, this can go with Thunderlyn. The majority of the cases is the pet that is released with the heroes is best working for heroes. There is some exception, for example, like Venom Lizard. I believe this is the best infantry pet in Call of Dragons, the Venom Lizard. Yeah, there is other pets. Maybe Mosrock Auroch can be a competition Venom Lizard, I can say. But that's all. That's all. Just because it's giving more stamina, and this is actually increasing the survivability, because the biggest stats in infantry is actually stamina. So if you're boosting the biggest base stat of the troop, you just you're going to get very nice benefits. So, and for Yun Ming, you can go with Flaming Manticore, or you can go with Seraphic Faedrake. Now, do I want to go with 2 Flaming Manticore? Yes, I can say. I can even maybe replace the Seraphic Faedrake with 1 more Flaming Manticore, but still, this extra healing is increasing the survivability. Here we're having potential for very decent damage. Still, I can say both of these 2 pets are very nice, and you can bring this with Yun Ming. There is nothing special for this pet combined with Yun Ming like the Seraphic Faedrake with Thunderlyn, but yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. So guys, if you get that far in this video, make sure you hit 1 like. Also subscribe for more Cow Dragons content and turn the bell notification so every time I post a video you're going to get notification, or if I go live. I'm going to put one video here if you're more interested in more of this type of content. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I wish you a great day and see you in the next video.